Facebook and YouTube. We're about to get started with our session today. We'll welcome our esteemed guests momentarily, just let everybody get comfortable. I'm going to let folks into the Zoom as well. Hey, folks, joining the Zoom. You guys, welcome to the Zoom. It's good to see you. By the way, folks that are out on the socials and YouTube and Facebook, if you would like to join us on the Zoom, keep an eye out for some links and you can hop on in. Otherwise, just stand by and if you do get a chance to join the Zoom, we'll tell you how to join weekly momentarily, and you can sort of participate at a closer level to the action after that. But in the meantime, I will be introducing our program. Just want to make sure the call's set up great. Let's make sure, yep, all the participants are muted and we are ready to roll out. So this is, oh, here's somebody else who wants to join. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Welcome, Bill. Good to see you. Yeah, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. So what do? We gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano and music world. This might include manufacturers of instruments, rebuilders, musicians, other makers of other unique instruments, and of course, those piano techs are close to our heart. Our mutual goal is to become better at a craft, help each other, create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to Radio Hour for just $16 a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings of well over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join using the link bit.ly/joinptrh. Also, a reminder, you can find us on our podcast, audio-only version of the program. We've been top 100, top 10, even number 1 in various locales globally on the performing arts category on iTunes. Listen in the car, lifting weights, doing dishes in the workshop. And we also have a blog at Substack. You can look us up for Piano Technicians Masterclasses. We share really cool, rare information for those high-level piano techs. You might find some information about rebuilding or even piano design or piano history you just can't find anywhere else. And then, of course, you can check out our socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you can subscribe to our email list on the website. Just your name and email at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. Let's intro our guest for today. His name is Eric Byrd, B-Y-R-D, a pianist and vocalist whose playing carries the depth of jazz, the soul of gospel, and a sense of storytelling that connects both worlds. With over 3 decades of performance, Eric has developed a voice shaped by swing, bebop, blues, and gospel traditions. Whether on stage with jazz greats or leading his own ensembles, his music reflects a balance of intensity, warmth, and lived experience that resonates deeply with listeners. And he's a pianist, he's a vocalist, a composer. He's performed with artists you surely have heard of, including Wynton Marsalis, Corea, Randy Brecker, Grammy Award voter and seasoned educator. He has taught at institutions such as Shenandoah University and Gettysburg College. He's also the founder of the Frederick Jazz Society, an organization dedicated to jazz education, performance, and community engagement. Eric, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thank you for joining us from your fresh white Tesla Model 3 over there.
Shameless plug, right? Yeah, it's great. That was some intro, man. I'm doing too much.
Yeah, you gotta tone it down. Tone it down.
You're living
too large.
I gotta get some sleep, man. But thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. I have Tesla Model S, and I have I don't know what year yours is, but I got it used 2015, and it came with unlimited free supercharging. So I don't know what your situation is, but
it's not that. It's not that. It's not that. You're living the dream.
I'm guessing that it is a little bit better than the folks who have to go to the gas pump these days with all the price fluctuations and things like that.
Yeah. I charge right at my house. I got a full tank every day.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man.
plug for Teslas, I guess. Although they're going to keep making that model. They're going to stop making some of these models and just making robots and all that stuff instead. So
right. Yeah.
pick up a Tesla while you can.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. Well, it's great to have you here. My first question is always, where did everything get started? You know, like think back to when you were a kid, how music started to touch your life and intrigue you, and how you started to realize it's going to be such a central role in your life.
Yeah, it's funny. What I thought was normal, I found out later is actually not normal.
Okay.
My mom and dad, I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey.
All right.
Which is way north Jersey, outside of Jersey, outside of New York.
Yeah,
but I grew up in South Jersey. Yeah, it is. And I grew up in South Jersey, which is right outside Philadelphia.
Yep.
And my dad's thing, shout out to Willingboro, New Jersey, Willingboro High School. But my dad's thing was not, he was not a super social guy, God rest his soul. He wasn't like he didn't come home from work and then go to get a drink, or he didn't have like a club, or that just wasn't his thing. His thing was that he would work hard all day and then he would come home and he'd play records.
All right. And there we go. We lost him. I don't know if his phone died or what. All right, we're going to stand by. And I will, what will I do? I guess I'll fill you guys in on some other things while he's on pause there. I will tell you guys something that I alluded to previously, and I've been holding close to my chest, but now might be a good time to share about it, or not. Eric's back. Stand by.
No idea.
Okay, good.
No idea.
I thought your phone was dead.
No, I mean, I'm doing it through the car, so I don't know. So all that plug for Tesla, see where that got us. That got us nowhere. But he would play records. Right. You know, he would just play like, wonderful. You know, he would come home from work and he would just play, you know, records.
Miles Davis, like
yeah, he really was into traditional jazz. He wasn't into like the bop stuff too much.
Oh, okay.
But like the early jazz, swing stuff, big band kind of stuff.
Like the.
So I just had this.
What was it? What was his name? Whiting. I can't forget the guy's name. Orchestra. It's a big band. So you listen to the big band stuff?
Paul Whiteman, you mean?
Yeah, Paul Whiteman. There you go.
Paul Whiteman. Yeah. I mean, he was more into like Basie, Ellington, a little bit of like Benny Goodman, that kind of stuff. But anyway, and at the time, the other thing that I like to tell people is that, I didn't know that wasn't hip. So like, I think today music is more segregated than it's ever been, which is a real drag. Like, I have satellite radio and there are like 40 country channels and there's 30 rock channels. Of course, there's only one jazz channel, but it's like, it's only one blues channel, but it's like, I grew up at a time when the radio wasn't really segregated. Like you could turn on the radio and you'd hear Stevie Wonder, James Taylor, Earth, Wind and Fire, Peter Gabriel, and you just decided whether it was hip or not. So I didn't know that jazz was like dead. I didn't know it was passé. I didn't know that there was other hipper stuff out there. I just listened to jazz. And then my mom, we went to church. We went to First Baptist Church, Willingboro, New Jersey. And the woman who played the organ and the piano there was super great. And my dad literally just came home one day and said, "Hey, Mrs. Troupis at the church is giving piano lessons. Do you want one?" And I said, "Sure." Not really thinking about it. But, I heard somebody else say this, and I think it's true in my case. Like, I didn't find music. I think music found me. I wasn't a prodigy. I was not a prodigy or anything like that. But I think music just found me. I was listening to any kind of music I could listen to, like all kinds of music, all kinds of stuff. Like, oh man,
you can keep talking.
Okay, I don't know what is happening, but I think maybe I'll just move around or something. But anyway, but it's like I was just listening to all kinds of stuff. I was just listening to all kinds of stuff, and it was hip. and it just shaped my ear. It
Mm-hmm.
shaped my ear for what I was going to do. So I think I think I would have probably been a competent musician if I didn't pick the piano. But
Yeah.
fortunately, I saw Ray Charles on television when I was 7 years old, and I'd never seen a blind person before. I'd never heard that kind of playing and singing before. And when I heard Ray Charles, I was like, that was it. That was. I don't know what that was, but I
Right.
was like, I want to do that. Like that was
Yeah.
gospel and the blues, and he was
Nice.
saying all of that stuff. And
How'd
then
you
it
like
just
that?
kind of took off from there.
That movie was very good. It was several years ago at this point, but that was a
Yeah,
really great movie with Jamie Foxx and
yeah, yeah. It
yeah.
was great. And so then it took out from, and then of course, I happened to grow up in a great school district where there was a jazz band, there was an orchestra, there was a concert band, there was a commercial music band, and I played drums in one and keyboard in another, and played for the choir, and I took classical music lessons for 10 years. So I just thought that everybody had that kind of
Yeah.
access to the arts, and that's one of the reasons why I started the nonprofit, because as I get older, I'm like, everybody doesn't have access to the arts.
Yes. Yes.
So
I have all kinds of questions and context to add. I want to hear about the nonprofit. Let me go back to some other topics, and we'll get back to the nonprofit. Just to set some
okay.
context for those folks that are on the call or listening. I know that area. I went to Rutgers
Oh,
University, so that's kind
okay,
of
yeah,
sort of a little bit towards South Jersey, Central Jersey, and
sure,
and I know Philly pretty well, and
yep,
of course Jersey City is very interesting. My piano tuning business is in New York City, and I was
okay,
out there tuning a little bit. We get some calls for Jersey City, we get some calls for
sure,
Hoboken, and so it's interesting to think about New York, but then also these other contexts that are sort of nearby but have their own personality. Did
yeah.
you in terms of like getting out there and playing gigs, where did that happen? Did it happen in Philly and New York, or when did you first start playing in groups and playing out? What was the context?
No, as much as my dad loved music, he did not want me to be a musician.
Sure.
So he didn't want me to deal with the life and all that stuff. So I went to college in Maryland to be a communication major. I really like journalism, and I was going to minor in music.
Okay.
And then the light changed. And then I had a friend of mine that had a party in his mom's backyard, and on the break they played Miles Davis's Kind of Blue, and that was it. Well, I don't know why or what that was, but when I heard that, I was always in the jazz big band because I could read, because I
Yeah.
could play classical music, and I enjoyed the gigs, but I didn't have any designs on being a jazz musician. I enjoyed just playing.
Sure.
And of course, I grew up in the 80s, which was a great decade of music. So, Madonna was big, and Prince at Purple Rain, and Springsteen, and of course Michael Jackson, and all. So pop music was really the thing.
Sure.
But when I heard Kind of Blue, I said, I want a seat on that train. I was trying to figure out why my G dominant 7 was so lame, and Bill Evans' G dominant 7 was so hip. Like, how does he put an E natural, and that's not the 7? How does that even work? How does he voice that thing?
Right.
And
Right.
once I heard Kind of Blue, I went back to college and I said, I want to do that. And God bless them. The music department said, okay, we'll find you a teacher. We'll find somebody to give you private lessons. And that's how it started. So I started playing around DC,
Okay.
not around Philly or New York. I mean, I started
Okay.
playing around Baltimore, DC. And so
Also an
DC's got,
interesting scene, though.
yeah, it's got its own vibrant kind of scene and its own kind of, community that's really, really lovely. Some great players down here. And of course, when cats from New York come here, they a lot of times UDC guys, and I get a chance to play right along with them. So it's I don't I have a lot of great memories of doing that stuff, still doing that stuff, still playing around town.
And where are you right now, like physically?
So geographically, I'm in the Frederick, Maryland area.
Okay.
And so Frederick is a suburb of both Baltimore and DC. lot of people live here that have to go into the city. So for me to play Blues Alley is 40 minutes from the house, 50 minutes from the house.
Okay.
Well, getting there is going to be an hour and a half. Going home is going to be 45 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. Traffic.
Yeah, it's just traffic,
Well,
right?
Speaking of playing out, maybe let's check out some of your music. We have a couple of recordings we set aside here. Which one do you think is a good starter to get some exposure?
Let's ease into it. Why don't we do, you have the videos up?
Yeah, but I'll bring up a video.
Okay. Yeah, okay, let's do Silver and Goldie, if you don't mind. I wrote that for my wife and our 25th wedding anniversary.
Okay, gotcha.
So her name, so her name is Silver. No, her name is Goldie.
Her name is Goldie.
Yeah, I call her Goldie.
Sweet. All right, let's go full screen on. Actually, let me make sure I'm sharing the audio here. Let's make sure we got all the bases covered.
I'm all scared now because I don't know why the Zoom like just quit. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times, it's all the updating the version. Sometimes that's what's going on.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to touch anything. I'll just sit in the car without touching anything.
Yeah, it's working okay. You guys can.
Cool. Yeah, I can see me. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. All right, here we go.
Nice. I haven't
Well,
heard that in a while.
we'll make a sacrifice of the bass player for a minute there.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, he's a bum anyway. No, that kid is something else. He's Will Hazel. He's 23 years old. Came out of the Peabody School of Music in Baltimore, and he's kicking my butt on the moment to moment, note to note. He's kicking all of our butts. He's going to be really, really. He's going to be something to deal with. He's going to be something to deal with in his music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to hear also just about, you know, some of the contexts you've played in. You know, I mentioned in your bio some of the folks that you've played with. Tell us the story of kind of getting involved with some players, like I think it was Wynton, right? And some other folks I mentioned.
Yeah, Wynton was a cool story. I mean, I'll try to, you know, try to keep it brief or whatever, but you know, Wynton was playing in DC. This is like maybe it's probably in the late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
But like he was playing in DC, and I met him after a gig, and you know, he was raging against rap music again. You know, he was doing his thing. He said, I keep having these rappers come by my house and we have these conversations about music. And, you know, it's a short conversation because they can't talk about music. And I said, Wynn, I just have to ask you, man, like, you know, what do you mean? Like people come by your house? Like, are you in a phone book or something? Like, is your address just like out there? And right there, he just gave me his address. It said, when you coming by? And I said, next Wednesday. He said, okay, I'll see you then. So I took the train up to New York, went by and saw him. And, you know, we played in his house, which is, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, he was, you know, I don't know. Well, I guess I do know why there is some criticism of Wynton, but I found him to be the most generous, the most welcoming, the most warm. If it were not for Wynton Marsalis, I mean, this music very well could have died. So all that stuff he's doing at Lincoln Jazz Center, he's retiring this year or whatever. Like I've got nothing to say but superlatives. And then his brother, I just got done playing with Delfeo in January. I got a text from his manager. I never talked to Delph, never talked to him. So the manager says, hey, Delph wants to know if you can make these gigs with him. I said, sure. First gig was at Snug Harbor in New Orleans. Trumpet player was like, here are the songs that we've been doing lately. He didn't call any of those songs. He didn't talk to me. He didn't talk to me. And the first time I meet him is when we're on stage.
Wow.
So that is, you know, I was like 16 again, like trying to make sure my science teacher likes me kind of thing. Like I was playing the best I can and he's giving me direction and I'm trying to play the way he wants me to play in his band. And then he just starts playing a ballad. He doesn't tell me the title, but it's just him and me. Thank God I knew it. But, you know, I think, you know, he did that just to kind of test me a little bit. And I think I passed the test. I ended up playing 2 more shows with him in Baltimore. But when it was over again, like, you know, he gave me his phone number. He said, you teach? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm teaching history of jazz now at Gettysburg College. And he said, man, you know, call me and I'll talk to the kids about jazz. I called him the next week. He answered the phone and talked to the kids for 20 minutes about New Orleans and jazz. I mean, so, you know, these guys, I've met so many great people in the business. Chick Corea and I actually became friendly. You know, we played together once. I mean, like, these guys are the most benevolent, warm, loving. I've not had a bad experience with any of them. I mean, just beautiful experiences I've had in the music.
Wonderful. Yeah. So speaking of New Jersey, we were talking about, so I went to Rutgers. One of my teachers was this guy, William Fielder. They called him Prof. You know Prof?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Yeah. He's an interesting character. You know,
was Kenny Barron up there when you were there?
Kenny Barron was there right before I joined. And so I didn't study with Kenny. I ended up studying with Stanley Cowell.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Prof actually taught Wynton back in the day when he was a kid, basically. So he was the trumpet instructor there, and he was this old kind of crazy character. He
Yes.
also lived in Chicago for a time, and he would tell us stories of like, I went over to. He had this kind of old. He could hardly see.
Yes.
He had like glaucoma. He was like, "Oh,
Yes.
I went
Yes.
over
Yes.
to Herbie Hancock's house,
Right.
and on
Yes.
Sangamon Street, and
Yes.
he said he was checking out Bud Powell. He wanted to learn to play like Bud Powell. I went back a
Yes.
week later. He was playing like Bud Powell.
You got it. You got it. That's like the stories is what makes it, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, he's not a he's not a. I don't think Todd is a. Well, maybe he actually is. Do you know Todd Barkham that runs the Keystone Corner? Had the club, the historic club in San Francisco, and now runs it in Baltimore.
Okay.
He's been in the music for like his entire life, like 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you want some jazz anecdotes or crazy stories, just get Todd Barkham started. He has a story for every jazz musician you can think of. They're all hilarious stories. Same kind of vibe. Like, Stan Getz and Freddie Hubbard locked themselves in my freezer because they thought the cops were going to raid the place, and then they couldn't get out, and they were in there for an hour, and I had to unlock. I mean, like crazy. But I loved that stuff. I loved hanging around the old timers. I love playing with the DC legendary guys like, Buck Hill and James King, and, hearing them tell stories of going on the road with, playing with like Dexter Gordon or Fat Ed Newman, or, who of course did all those years with Ray Charles. I mean, it's just great. I mean, I just loved it all. Still do. Love all that stuff.
So yeah, going back to what you said earlier about the nonprofit and how you realized you had access to things that others don't. Tell us a little bit more about, the conceptualization of that, the launching of that, because I know, I've been thinking, well, I will be starting some nonprofits soon, and I've looked into it. And, it's like, it's easy, but it's not, right? Like, okay, you need a board and you need a mission and all this stuff, but then, it's you gotta rally the troops. You gotta have alignment, and
you gotta have a team.
You gotta have a team.
I mean, if you do it alone, that's a lot of work.
Tell us a little bit about the concept and then how it launched and has grown.
Yeah, I'm in my mid 50s now, and about 5 years ago, I've been playing my trio. It's about 25 years old. The drummer I've been playing with for the whole 25 years. And we got to be about 50, 51. And, Al and I we used to teach at the same college. We now both teach at Gettysburg. And we just talk about kids and how kids are like knuckleheads. We just talk about how kids are just knuckleheads. And I said something about it. And he said, yeah, we're old. And I said, yeah, we are old. And it's like, and I just started to think about being old. And I started to think about, what am I passing on to the next generation? Like, this music or any art form is going to die if people that have been in it for a long time don't pass it on. So that got me thinking about, got me thinking about a nonprofit. Then I have a friend of mine in Frederick. His name is Scott, and he runs a Frederick Rock School. And I was like, I could do the jazz version of the rock school. Just put kids together, put them in small combos, and then we go play gigs. And so that's kind of how I wanted to do it. And then the nonprofit thing came about where, becoming a nonprofit makes you eligible for grants. And so I found a grant writer that is helping me. She's great, and she's helping me write grants. I got a board of some people that can help me get the ball rolling. But I live in a fairly fancy pants. Frederick is kind of like, it's on some list of like one of the 100 best places to live in the country or something.
Oh, great.
Like Frederick is great. There's nothing wrong with Frederick. Like, I love Frederick. It's a beautiful place. A lot of places to eat, and I'm a foodie, so it's great. But there are school districts and there are schools right in my fancy pants neighborhood and right next to us in bordering counties where if the band director is not a jazz musician, they don't get access to jazz.
Right.
And it's like, and education should not be reserved for those that know it. Education is about me presenting you everything as much as I can give you, and then you create, and then you have access to a pathway to experience. Imagine the world if there were no artists, if there were no visual artists in my neighborhood, and So I just grow up and I don't know anything about Romare. I don't know anything about art. I
Hmm.
have, my kids are fairly, well, they're my kids, but they're fairly intelligent, bright. They're going to be great global citizens. They have a great faith. They have a relationship with God. They're good kids. They're generally good kids. They're knuckleheads like everybody else. But my point is that my kid is getting ready to graduate a very good high school. He did not take a music or art class for 4 years.
Wow. That's
He didn't take
surprising.
he wasn't required to take one.
Hmm.
They didn't make him take one. His
Hmm.
father is a jazz musician and working. He
Yeah.
didn't have to, and I'm like, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah,
There's
I agree.
something wrong where we have normalized education to the point that the arts is not a part of your, everybody should be taking some type of music appreciation. You should take some type of dance class. You should take some type of acting or dance class, some kind of art class, some kind of visual art appreciation. That should just be a normal baseline education. And then when you go to
Sure.
college, you can specialize in whatever you want. And I just got really, really passionate, as you can probably tell in my voice. I just got really passionate about, like, there are kids that are coming up and they don't know who the hell Miles Davis is.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't know that April's Jazz Appreciation Month. They don't know that Herbie Hancock is coming to Baltimore. He's still playing great. I
Mm.
got tickets. I don't know who Herbie Hancock is.
Right,
So
right.
I just made it a mission to be like, you know what? We got to know who Herbie Hancock. Like, if we know who the Beatles are, if we know who Carole King is, if we
Right,
know who Aretha Franklin, and nothing wrong with any of those people. If
right.
we know Joni Mitchell is, we got to know who Wayne Shorter is.
Sure.
So that just became a passion for me the last couple of years. And so that's what we do. These kids walk around and they're horrible. Like they, they make these awful noises in rehearsal. I jump on them and tell them that they're not swinging, but they know who Miles Davis is, and they're playing a Sonny Rollins tune, and they can play
Hmm.
a blues, and they can
Yeah.
come tomorrow. We'll have a jam session at a local play. They'll come to the jam session and they'll play. They'll play
Oh,
Mr.
great.
PC by Train. It's great. It's been one of the more rewarding things of my life.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's great.
there's definitely something I've definitely been cognizant of it, and especially, folks who listen to the program regularly. One of the interesting things about having a show like this is you talk to so many people and you see themes, right? The themes
Yeah,
keep coming out, you know, people, I would love to see ways to get people out to see live music more often,
yeah,
right? And not just the big concerts, right? Like not just going to the arena, but going to a jazz club or just going to see a rock
yes,
show or whatever it is, classical music stuff, chamber music, so wonderful. Um,
yes,
but there's just so many things about the way the world is evolving, and it sort of
yes.
keeps people in their houses and they're sort
Right.
of less inclined to interact with one another. And um, on top of that, this sort of Spotify world, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
even when, like you were talking about on the radio, like they would say in between the songs, they would say, and that was Peter Gabriel and then Earth, Wind and Fire, and they would tell you the names of the tracks or whatever. And now it's just music. And
that's
I
right.
go into like a store and somebody's got on some music. Oh, cool. What are you playing? I don't know, Spotify, like, and so who knows,
Right.
maybe they've heard Miles Davis, but they don't know who Miles Davis
But they
is.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody like just a couple days ago. We're talking about what kind of music we listen to. And I was like, I like listening to funk music. And like, funk music, what's that? I was like, really?
Yeah,
You know what? Like it's
I was getting physical therapy on my hand, and the nurse or whatever the person's called that gives you physical therapy, she was like, "Oh, so what do you do?" I said, "I play piano." "Oh, what kind of music?" "I play jazz." "Oh, well, isn't that like laid back kind of saxophone kind of stuff?" And I'm like, "Isn't that interesting?
kinda.
Here is obviously a schooled, learned, intelligent person and grown adult, and she doesn't. So what we're trying to do with the nonprofit is we're trying to take the music to the people.
Okay.
Like, that's one of our missions. Like, our mission is, we might be able to get a bus to go up to New York to see the Lincoln Jazz Center rehearse, but in the meantime, I can take this middle school saxophone kid that comes to Tuesday night rehearsals. I'll be on piano, and I'll get the 6th grader on bass, and we'll go to your elementary school, and we'll
nice.
play.
Oh, that's
and
great.
we'll play. And those kids will go, I don't know what that is, but it looks fun. Sure, I'll come to your summer camp, or sure, I'll come to a jam session. So we got to take mountain to, what is it? You take the mountain to Muhammad, or whatever that thing is. Yeah, you got to take the music to the people. So that's where the nonprofit is committed. We're going to take the music to the people.
Okay, wonderful. And where do you find, like, where are you seeing support, or or are you looking for support in terms of the grants, or like are you finding there's organizations that are in alignment, arts foundations, or what is it? Where are you seeing potential alignment?
Well, the elephant in the room is, this particular administration has not been as accommodating to the grants as to the grant world as we would like it to be.
Sure.
Doesn't make it impossible, but it just means that it's been a little bit more difficult this time around. So again, we're going to the people. We're going to people that go, if you appreciate these kids, these babies coming up. I got a 5th grader playing alto saxophone, and she's great. If you appreciate this stuff, why don't you jump on our website, frederickjazzsociety.org, join our membership program, give $1,000, give $500, give $50. That's a music book. And so we've tried to do a multi-layered we're getting grants, and we thank the good Lord for the grants we've gotten, but we're also going to our neighbor. We're going to our person that, lives down the street. And the other demographic that is growing for us, you might be surprised at this, because I was, we are growing in the adult education space. Okay. I can't tell you how many adults go, I used to play guitar and I got a job and I never had time to play the guitar, or I never thought I was ever any good, or I always liked Mike Stern or Kenny Burrell or Pat Martino, and I never had a chance to study. Well, now we've created bands for the adults, and the adults are joining. Like, they can't wait to come to rehearsal on Thursday nights. So we've got an adult, we've got a kids group like college and younger. We've got an adults group like 21 and older. We're going to start a vocal workshop this summer. We had our first person register just yesterday. We're going to do a vocal workshop over the summer. So we're going to take the music to the people. We're going to go where the people are.
Wonderful. And when people are participating, are they still sort of funding it through paying for lessons and things like that, or is that the way it works?
So we pay. Everybody pays a nominal monthly fee.
Okay.
It's like it's not like well, actually, I guess it is similar to like a gym membership. It's like you can cancel at any time. You can, if there are 5 rehearsals in a month, it's still the same price. If there's 4 rehearsals in a month, it's the same price. If there are 3 rehearsals in a month, it's still the same price. We try to keep it cheap because we know what everybody's economic situation is kind of dealing with. And so you can just pay, I bill everybody at the end of the month. We take the summers off. We take June, July, August off. And we do some fundraisers. We actually have a minor league ball team here in Frederick that's affiliated with the Baltimore Orioles. And we just we played for opening day here for the Frederick Keys, and the kids were outside playing, and it was great. We had a great time. So nice. Yeah, we're super creative in the ways that we can get the music to the people and how we can raise awareness and funds.
Wonderful. Let's listen to some more of your music. So the plan I have queued up, does that sound good?
Yeah, the plan is fine. Vocal song, I wrote that song sitting with my wife on the beach, reading the 12th chapter of the book of Job in the Old Testament, where I was just struck by the idea of, God has a plan. So we're calling it the plan. It's God's plan.
All right, let's just check that out.
Sure.
2, 3, and place your ear to the earth. Listen to its simple song. Every soul, every creature is breathing and speaking, a manifestation of order and joy. Ask the birds what's going on. The animals say just what they think. Every fish in the ocean form with their stories. It's clear that they know and act in their fashion. Tell me, who does not know? It's the hand and the plan of the Lord. In his hand is the life and the breath of all. Life can bring wisdom and more understanding. Power and counsel all are here. He brings down cannot rebuild. What he locks up cannot be free. Drags the darkness into the light, and rulers they stumble and stagger in the dark. Tell me, who does not know? It's the hand and the plan of the Lord. Go ahead, son.
You're muted.
Solo,
Yeah, there you go.
Solo for a piano solo.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. I love listening to that kid play. I told him the other day, said, man, I love everything you do. Just keep on doing it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about sort of the intersection of, gospel and like sort of faith or religion in what you're doing, right? Because it's very clear, you said you're reading the Bible, you're on the beach, that says something about your lifestyle, what you do, you're reading on the beach, reading the Bible.
I mean, I'm trying. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. You got to reach higher ground every day, man. It's like, I grew up in church, and I grew up, and it's not like a, just for the for the sake of conversation, your audience will understand what I mean. I grew up in a white church. So white church was like more like hymnody. My teacher was white. So it was more like hymn notated music, which is great. And that was a great basis for how I learned how to play. So that's great for literacy and all that stuff. Then every once in a while, we would go back home and see my aunts in Jersey City. Jersey City at the time was a very African-American city. And then we went to Reverend Mapp's church, AME Zion Church, typical black church. So gospel charismatic church, like foot stomping, Mahalia Jackson, greasy, bluesy church. So as I got older, it's like I had both of those things in me.
Okay.
And then I also, like a nice part-time job was I would get hired to play for churches on Sundays. So sometimes I was playing in white churches. Sometimes I could do gospel in black churches. I could read classical music in white churches. So all that. So I had, the first time I met Chick Corea, I got a chance to hang out with him a couple of times. The first time I met Chick, I was like, I was making apologies for how I played. because I wasn't as good as him, and he's so great, and I suck. And Chick like stopped me, and he was like, you know, you're supposed to be who you are.
Nice.
Like you're actually supposed, you know, you're actually supposed to be who you are. And so
Right.
why would you play music that didn't come from that wellspring of all the stuff that made you be? Like,
Sure.
you know, and people like Herbie is the same Herbie of ESP and Milestone and Footprints that he is of,
Watermelon
you know,
Man or whatever.
Watermelon Man and,
right.
you know, Cantaloupe Island and
Right.
Rocket and
Right.
Butterfly and yeah, you know, like he's the same guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, and listening to Herbie and checking out his autobiography, his memoir, like Herbie never made any excuses for doing whatever he wanted to do. And so, you know, I try to be a person of faith. You know, I don't identify with any of this crazy stuff that's in our political discourse, but I try to be a person of faith. I have to play in church tomorrow morning. I'm happy to do it. I would do it if they, you know, if they did ask me, if they, you know, I'd probably still do it. And so all of that just comes out in the music. So that's why the record has like some gospel stuff on there, has some pure blues stuff in there. And then it has just weird people stuff. I'm trying to, you know, the Silver and Goldie thing was a song I wrote where I was trying to get close to like that Pat Metheny kind of thing, where it's just, there's no tonal center. It's just kind of like chord, 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 painting colors. You know, there's a weird song on there that the drummer Al wrote, you know, Here Comes the Bowtie Man. It's all F. And we tried to just write like something you play, you know, so we're trying to just stretch and see just how creative we can be.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, I concur. It is so easy to, actually, a little bit of it in behind the scenes. Have you ever heard of a book? It's kind of like a popular foundation of kind of personal psychology books, right? There's a book called what is it called? Psycho-Cybernetics. Have you ever heard of this book?
Oh no, okay, no.
Okay, so it was written by this guy who I believe he was a plastic surgeon.
Wow.
And he noticed that two things. One, maybe people would get plastic surgery to fix something that, you know, they felt self-conscious about or something like that. And it would change their life in a big way. They would sort of have a new identity and they would sort of shift, you know, whatever. But then he also noticed that some people would get something changed and it wouldn't change anything for them. You know, like you know, they kind of just eased back into the same identity. It didn't make them, not even that it was, not that it didn't achieve the result that they wanted. It was just like they just didn't identify with something new. And so basically, the idea of cybernetics is like a it's more of a mechanical, like scientific domain. It's all about guiding guidance of like computerized systems, right? So like literally, like if you need to have a guided missile, right? It's got a target. How do you guide it so that along the way it gets back on target? The wind blows it off and things like that.
That's right.
And so so basically his principle is in your mind you have a self a concept. Can't think of the word it says exactly, but you have a concept of yourself, right? And if your concept of yourself, if you have a clear vision of something that you're trying to get to where you're going and it's positive, you'll go that way. But if you'd have a vision of yourself that is not positive, right? Like your self-talk is around this and that, right? You will go that way because it's a cybernetic system, meaning you have your subconscious has a target. And you got that target, it's just going to go there, right? So what Chick Corea is saying is very interesting, right? He's saying just let go of this idea that that what you have to say is not, you know, worth saying, and even more into, hey, I have something important to say. I need to resonate even more highly with what is my particular space, right?
Yes, that's so good. That is what we're doing when I teach privately, when I'm at the nonprofit, when I'm teaching at the college. It's like we need another you. we don't need another Byrd or a
Right.
Crane or a like that. It'd be great, but we need another you. Like it's following that voice. And I didn't embrace that until much later, and I should have embraced it earlier. My kids, thankfully, are not like me. they don't lack for self-confidence. Like they have a goal and they go after it, and I'm like, that's great, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, and that's where the art. That's why I love jazz, because I get to sit down, and how I would approach those two songs that you just played might be completely different today than it was when I recorded that. And I'm trying to free myself from the idea of I have this preconceived notion of what the song is supposed to be, or how I'm supposed to play, or I have to impress somebody, or it's got to be hip for this particular thing. I'm just trying to be open to wherever I'm going at that moment. So yeah, there's a lot of value to what you just said. That's great.
Yeah, it also reminds me of I'm sure you gotta have heard of the Kenny Werner Effortless Mastery.
That's what I thought you were gonna mention. Yeah, that's what I thought. The effortless.
Yeah. I will always. I feel like it definitely opened a door for me.
So did you do the classes, or you just read the book?
I read the book and they had audio. That's what I did.
Okay. Because he does the in-person classes too.
Oh yeah, I never did that. I never did like a seminar or something. Just the audio. I did the meditations. And the one thing that I find it's a principle that I continue to resonate with me. And it was something that in a meditation he said, and you kind of say it to yourself, every note I play is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. And then he would repeat it, every note I play is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard, right? And it really is interesting. It totally changes your mindset, right? And it also it applies not just to music. It applies to just life in general, right? Like, hey, I'm just gonna do something. Exactly.
That's super great.
It's beautiful, right? Because you can see things how you want, and other people can see things how they want.
I'm gonna make a note of
that. Yeah, right. I think it's very beautiful, and I try to bring that, again, to yourself. Sometimes you got the voices that come in, they say something differently, but I try to do that for other people. Other people enter the scene when they're playing, when they've got something that they're bringing to the table. Yeah, you've got to add criticism here so they have feedback. But say, hey, like, what you're doing, it's special and it's you.
Put it in love. Yeah, wrap it in love.
Wonderful.
This is great, man.
Well, we'll have to wrap soon. But there's more we could talk about. But let's start wrapping it up. Just any final words of wisdom here, or a link that you want to send people to, or something you want to plug?
Well, I would love to plug two things. My band is we just got named the 2026 Jazz Artist of the Year from the Washington Area Music Awards.
Wonderful.
Which around here we call the Whammies.
Okay.
So that's really great. We're really happy about that. So if people want information on the band, just go to ericbyrdtrio.com, ERICBYRD trio.com, and check out the band. We're looking to play, and you can get music and all that stuff. And then, of course, the nonprofit. It's frederickjazzsociety.org, frederickjazzsociety.org. We advocate, educate, present, and promote jazz music in and around Frederick County. But we'll take financial and support anywhere we can get it. We're trying to raise the banner for arts education and jazz education, and we're doing it any place that we can. So if people want to check that out, go to the webpage. We have master classes, speaker series, live performances, fundraisers, even ball games, even baseball games. So we're doing it all. So Eric Byrd Trio and Frederick Jazz Society.
Wonderful. Well, we'll wrap it up there. It was great talking to you, and best of luck for everything that you're doing. I'm
so honored to be on, man. I really appreciate your work. Thank you for having me on. It's really kind of you.
Absolutely. That's absolutely been a privilege. Well, we have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks to our guests today. Our live audience has been here with us on Zoom. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually Make your life more convenient. Subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour, just $16 a month. Direct access to the recording of today's session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. Don't forget about the podcast, audio only, the Substack with our blog, the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Sign up for the email list at the website, just your name and email. And that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week. Eric, you can jump back on the Zoom after I